the big part of this move and the reason why they've made it to this finals to here is obviously the progression of Luka Doncic, but also the addition of Kyrie Irving and him returning to form from where he was in Cleveland with all the teams that he's bounced around to.
Yeah, and it's the addition of Kyrie Irving, and oh my God, how could you give up Spencer Dinwiddie? And everyone was freaking out about how it wouldn't work. They're like, these are two ball-dominant players. It won't work when you literally saw two ball-dominant players with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. Similar play styles with Luka. And then you also saw two ball-dominant players with LeBron James and Kyrie Irving work in Cleveland. You know how it works. You have two players who can go out there and get 40 on a given night, and then one plays one stretch and the other one goes to the bench, and then you have another player who can play another stretch, and then whoever is on in the fourth quarter can take over the game. And then Kyrie Irving has had a lot of personal growth that he's been able to work through some tough times he was going through when he was in Boston. He was dealing with some family issues where he's dealing with the death of his grandfather and he wasn't really in the right headspace, and then dealt with some injuries with the Nets. But Kyrie Irving is a Kevin Durant type of player where if you put Kyrie Irving on the Portland Trailblazers, are they going to the conference championship in some of the years that Dame brought them there? Probably not, but if you put him with someone like Luka, he has the ability to, if he can just go out there and ball, turn into an inferno on the court, similarly to where Kevin Durant has not been able to lead his own team to the finals. Kyrie Irving hasn't really been able to lead his own team, and he was able to accept that role with Luka, be the 1B there, where it's not I'm the 2, it's whoever is on this night, and they have that trust there. And then you also have with this Dallas Mavericks teams, you get Kyrie Irving with some picks and Spencer Dinwiddie. You trade away the last juicy booty in Grant Williams to the Hornets, and you acquire PJ Washington, players like Derrick Jones Jr. You get Gafford on your team as well as part of that trade. You bench Hardaway Jr., and then you get someone like Derek Lively in the draft Blake Lively in the draft this year, who's been a rookie and made a massive impact for you. But you know, the biggest part to the Dallas Mavericks success, not being able to draft Trae Young or DeAndre Ayton. The Trae Young, Luka Doncic trade is the trade that's the reason why they are here, and then being able to move on from Brunson and replace him with Kyrie Irving. And I think Jalen Brunson is a good player, but is he Kyrie? Probably not.
No, that's a good point. That swap, ultimately putting him in Dallas, and then mentioning that Kyrie Irving trade. I did pull up the Kyrie Irving trade because I think it's funny to go over now. Him and Markieff Morris went to Dallas. You want to know who the Mavericks gave up?
They got Markieff Morris too.
They did get Markieff Morris,
Congratulations.
one of the Morris brothers. We mentioned Spencer Dinwiddie. We mentioned the first overall pick in 2029, and Dorian Finney-Smith.
That's it.
That's what they gave up for Kyrie Irving.
The Nets should not be allowed to make trades anymore because this is ridiculous, because we just talked about how the Dallas Mavericks got here because they traded Luka Doncic for Trae Young, and that's working out for the Dallas Mavericks at this point. You trade Spencer Dinwiddie for Kyrie Irving. You trade Grant Williams for Gafford and PJ Washington. And then the Boston Celtics. How did they get here? Oh, wait, trading with the Brooklyn Nets. Why are the Nets allowed to make trades? I mean, if you want to talk about a team who has made the most championship contenders, who has been a part of creating some of the best teams in the league, you know who it is? The Brooklyn Nets. Because what did the Celtics do? Fleece the Brooklyn Nets. They're like, do you want a retired Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett?
And Jason Terry.
And then we're like, we'll take back Marshawn Brooks, Keith Bogans, and give us all of your first round draft picks for, I don't know, the next decade. And then we'll turn that into Marcus Smart. We'll turn that into Kelly Olynyk. We'll turn that into Jaylen Brown. And we'll turn that into Jason freaking Tatum.
And also, funny enough, the draft pick that ended up becoming that pick that they had later, the 2018 pick, was a trade that ended up getting them Kyrie as well. So they got Kyrie, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, all of these players, thanks to the Brooklyn Nets. So Brooklyn, honestly, you know who won the NBA Finals this year?
Brooklyn.
The Brooklyn Nets did. But then it goes further than that, because we saw Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They've been in the finals, or at least the Eastern Conference Finals, 6 of the last 8 years. Their run, the only thing they haven't done is quite break through and winning that title. But to this point now, not only have they contributed, right? The Celtics getting both of these players in back-to-back years at number 3. We can go over another alternate scenario in a second, but
Yeah.
also the addition of Derek White, who they ended up getting for Romeo Langford, Kristaps Porzingis, who ended up getting for
Marcus Smart.
Marcus Smart, and then Drew Holiday, who they ended up getting for basically Robert Williams. So,
and Malcolm Brogdon as well.
And Malcolm Brogdon as well. So basically replacing part of their bench with 3 players who have been electric for them in the playoffs and help them get to the number 1 seed.
Yeah, help them get to the number 1 seed as well. And the Celtics have the best 6 player rotation here. And then you have players like Luke Cornett off the bench. He gives you some hustle points. And then Peyton Pritchard, kind of like, I don't know, I was like another white guy who shoots 30, but he's actually been pretty good. And then Sam Hauser hit 198 threes. He hasn't been as good or to that level in the NBA playoffs, but he's someone who, even though he's in a shooting slump right now, he's competed on defense at least. And then you always have Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, or Jason Tatum on the floor there. And then Kristaps Porzingis is able to stretch the floor there, bring away a key center. And then they're the best 3-point shooting in the league, where they had, I believe, the most players in NBA history hit over 100 threes ever. Yeah. They have a net rating offensively that puts them up there with teams like the Golden State Warriors or the Chicago Bulls, which gives them that net rating. And honestly, for this team, the biggest addition by subtraction, I hate to say it, Boston fans, but trading Marcus Smart, team spokesman Marcus Smart, who sometimes felt like he was the man on that team. I can't count how many times, as someone who watches most of the Celtics games and watches all of their playoffs games, where Marcus Smart would just have these moments where you're ripping your hair out. Why is he taking the ball? Why is he taking the shot right now? And I felt like he would lose us games at some point, and then his body kind of just started to break down. He tried to be the team spokesman because he had the seniority, because he was there first, but just trading him and replacing him with Drew Holiday, and then replacing Robert Williams with Kristaps Porzingis, who, I don't know, people are like, oh, we got rid of Robert Williams, there's our rim protection, but Porzingis is always hurt. Well, I hate to break it to you, Robert Williams was also always hurt, so it's kind of nothing new there. And then you replace him. Now you have 6 guys on your team who can go for 7 threes on a given night, who can go for 30 on a given night, where we're seeing Derek White take over games, who is traded for Romeo Langford. We're seeing Drew Holiday take advantage of some of his matchups and have big plays defensively now. And then we're seeing Jaylen Brown take advantage of having the second best defender on him, where the best perimeter defender is always on Tatum. So Jaylen Brown will seem like he's having better games than Tatum sometimes, and people wonder why. It's like, because Jason Tatum has the defense's best defender on him. Jaylen Brown does not. With Miami, Caleb Martin was on Jason Tatum, and then Jaylen Brown was cooking Tyler Hero.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then another person we forgot to mention with the Celtics development, right? We saw them earlier in their prime with Al Horford, right? Al Horford was a big figure for him early on. He left. He went to the Sixers. He went to the Thunder. And ultimately, they retained his services again by trading away Kemba Walker. Yeah. So another part of these trades that have been hyper successful, and the reason why they've been in the place they have, drafting well, finessing teams in trades. Both teams have done an excellent job constructing them to this point.
Yeah, Kemba Walker's probably in like China right now with DeMarcus Cousins. Shout out to Boogie Cousins for winning Taiwan Finals MVP. Shout out to you.
Congrats. Shout out to Boogie Cousins.
Yeah, shout out to Boogie Cousins. But as we went over it, the Nets basically built both of these rosters where they facilitate the Kyrie Irving trade to Dallas. And at a point, the NBA has to step in at some point, because this is getting bad, and Phoenix is going to be there at some point with everything they've traded for Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant. I feel like Phoenix will definitely be there at some point, but what is going on in Brooklyn right now? Because Boston is now set up to, not only did they beat the Brooklyn Nets team that had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving In a playoffs. It was the closest sweep in NBA history, as Chris Broussard put it, but